Good morning, Clem, everyone. Hope you're having a good day. Hope you had a good weekend. We had a very tiring weekend. I'll get to that in just a second. But somebody had written me last week or week before and said they missed my weather reports, which I usually always did, but then I guess I got away from it. So we are cloudy and overcast, completely overcast, raining off and on today. It is 44 degrees Fahrenheit and 7 degrees Celsius. And not going to warm up too much from that today. So don't know what your weather's like today, but that's our weather. So we had a busy weekend. That's why I'm tired today. Are you tired? I'm tired today. Busy weekend. We had a friend contact us, a former neighbor whose husband is really suffering from dementia, and she is just doing yeoman's work caring for her husband largely all alone without support. And it's very, very tiring for her. And she just needed help and a break. And so we made the trip back to a old neighborhood and spent the weekend with her and her husband and helped out with the very difficult situation that they find themselves in. And, you know, it's part of life. Sometimes things are just tiring, aren't they? Physically tiring, sometimes emotionally tiring. Oftentimes they go together. Spiritually tiring, that can go together. And we are whole people. We are not just a spirit. We're not just a body. We're not just a brain. We're not just a heart. We're all of these things. And any one of them, and oftentimes all of them together, get tired from time to time. This is part of being human. And God recognized that when he created all of us. And one of the questions that was going through my mind this morning to ask you is your, I don't know what the right word to use with you today is your religion, is your spirituality, is your, I'm especially talking to those of us who call ourselves Jesus followers. Is it working for you? Is it working out in all parts of your life? Do you see your walk with Jesus and a nap as part of the same thing at the same time? It seems like an odd thing, doesn't it? But Jesus doesn't just care about our spiritual soul. Jesus cares about our physical body too. That's the way God created us. He created us whole. And so as we work through the 10 Commandments, I'll put that up for you here. And I call it God's top 10 list of good behavior. We've been working our way through. You'll see this line here. And so the top 4 have to do with our relationship with God. And the bottom 6 have to do with our relationship with other people. So Jesus said the top 2 commandments: love the Lord your God with all of your heart, all of your soul, and all of your mind. That's the first 4. And love your neighbor as yourself. Love the people around you. And that's the bottom 10. But in reality, verse number 4 could go on either side of this line. And let me show you why. We're going to consider, remember the Sabbath day by keeping it holy. And there's people have a lot of questions about this, and we're going to take a couple of days to get through this particular command, including what does it have to do with us today. But today we just want to look a little bit at the history and purpose of this verse. And so I actually want to start down here at the bottom in Genesis chapter 2, where God said this. This is at the end of the creation account. For 6 days, God made everything that there is in the world and the universe, everything that we see. God made all of that. And he did that in 6 days. On day 7, it says this: by the 7th day, God had finished the work he had been doing. So on the 7th day, he rested from all of his work. He took a break. Then God blessed the 7th day and made it holy, because on it he rested from all the work of creating that he had done. Let me ask you a very simple question. Do you think that God was tired? God was not tired. Why would it say that he rested from his labor if he wasn't actually getting tired? It's not like he needed a nap at the end of or in the middle of a project or whatever, just a good sleep, a good rest. Why does it say that God rested on day 7? It says that because God was setting an example for us, his creatures that he had made. And he knew that sometimes life is, in fact, probably most of the time, life is very, very demanding. And there's always more demands than there is time in a day or in a week or in a month or in a year. And then some people on top of that, well, in the early days, until fairly recent in history, most people did what was called subsistence living. They lived off of the land. Maybe they were a farmer, maybe they were a fisherman, maybe they were a carpenter, and they did some hunting and fishing. But life was difficult. Subsistence living is a very difficult way of life. It doesn't actually give you much time off because you can spend most of a day getting the food together that you need for that day. And guess what? The next day it starts all over again. Most of the people back in Jesus's day were paid every day. And it usually was enough just to get through to the next day. Occasionally buy them a little bit of cloth or a little something that they needed. Life was difficult and it was tiring. On top of that, some people are just given to working harder than other people. And there's a lot of reasons for that. I don't want to get into all the psychological reasons why some people's personal nature is just given to that. They're constantly busy, constantly wanting to do something all of the time. Some people do it just for emotional reasons. They don't even realize it. They have this compulsive need to try to accomplish or to do in order to feel good about themselves. But God recognizes it for a wide variety of reasons, whether it's what life brings us or just our own personalities. We will tend to overwork. And so he took a break on day 7 as an example to the rest of us. Now, let's zoom along quite a few years. We come to the 10 Commandments and those being written. And now now God has something very specific to say to the nation of Israel. And we want to look at that now. Exodus chapter 20. This is where our command comes from. Remember the Sabbath day, the rest day, by keeping it holy. 6 days you shall labor and do all of your work. But on the 7th day, the 7th day itself, it is a Sabbath to the Lord. It is a dedicated day for rest. You shall not labor and do all of your work. And it is a day given to the Lord. By that, it doesn't necessarily mean it's a day for gathering together, like we think of Sunday morning church or whatever. It wasn't primarily for corporate worship. Its primary purpose was to give people, honestly, a break in the daily routine of life so they could rest up and get the rest that they did not get on the other 6 days. And it goes on to say, on it you shall not do any work, neither you, nor your son, nor your daughter, nor your male or female servants, not even your animals, not a foreigner residing in your town. Don't think that you can hire somebody to do something to get out of this. You're supposed to give them a rest too. For in 6 days the Lord made the heavens and the earth, the sea, and all that is in them, and then he rested on the 7th day. Therefore, the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and made it holy. Therefore, the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and made it holy. This principle of rest is so important to the Lord for our benefit that for the children of Israel, he set aside that day and he blessed it. And he said, rest is going to be a holy activity, a spiritual activity, physical rest and used in its proper way, not laziness or whatever, but physical rest used in its proper sense is an expression of holiness that God gave us for our benefit. So that's where we get the idea of Sabbath day or a rest day in there. Children of Israel it was so serious, the Lord said to the children of Israel, if you break this law, he actually had a punishment so severe that for some it meant being put to death. He really meant them to take this seriously. For us, the question is, what does this have to do with us today? Now, I'm going to give you a little hint. We're going to come back to it. Of all the 10 commandments, this is the only one that Jesus did not repeat for his followers to have to follow. And there's a reason for that. And we're going to come to that in a day or two. But for now, I think it's good for us just to appreciate the principle that God understood our humanness. He understood our need for rest, and he built it into the schedule that he gave us. Anyway, hope you have a good couple of days. If you're tired, I hope you're able to rest up. And I look forward to seeing you on Wednesday.